Alright. That is exposed facility out there with payloads on it. And again, if we need to, we can bring those payloads in through the airlock, do some work on them. But mostly it's all done robotically. If you go to Zenith, which is up for us, this is where you get the plane. Oh, this is Tano's favorite experiment. Sorry. It's called BCAT. It's colloidals again. We do a lot of colloidal research. I'm sure you're not exactly what that's all for, but I hear it's really good. And so what this is, if you look at this, there's actually 10 different little chambers in here. And what you have to do to get those chambers to work is you have to mix them up so it makes it a smooth, and then they basically all the colloidals kind of mix into the solution. And then it sits over time, and they all form, the crystals are formed together, and they can do a lot of science about these things and how they form and why they form and all that. And at the same time, to measure that or to analyze it, this camera will take a picture of it once every 2 hours. And then, so they do it for almost 2 weeks it runs for.
It's running right now.
It's running right now. And that's why we have the little tape up here. It's not that this is an accident scene. It's actually, we're not supposed to get in there and touch it.
All right, thanks, Swanee. Now you can continue.
Now I can continue. That was BCAT. And we go up, which is a fun thing to do. This is actually called the JLP. And it is a Japanese logistics machine module, and it's a storage area for Japanese equipment and U.S. equipment too. And it's really actually quite nice in here. It's one of the quietest places on station, but it has good storage, nice place to be. And our little, if you can't look out the cupola and you want to see Earth, you can come in here and get your little view of Earth. And these are actually kind of interesting. If you notice this right here, we call this a bungee jail. And what we do is we can put things behind these bungees and it stays up there. We don't have to really keep them contained or strapped in. They're contained in the bungee jail. We'll do that for different objects in different places. It works quite well and easy to use.
Where's your bag with all the metal in it? Is that still up here?
No, it's gone. Yeah, that would be a good thing to show, but we moved that thing. It has basically a bag big full of metal that makes some nice chime sounds. If we just had some wind to blow the chimes, it'd be really great.
Hey, you know what? Come back up and let me go to the front of the gem, and you can do your.
Oh, okay. Sounds good. We'll show you the dismount.
The JLP dismount.
Yes, exactly.
Just remember, you got an SSU down here.
Thank you.
Give me 1 more minute. Swanee has perfected this over time. We'll see if he can pull it off. Okay.
Alright. The dismount. Ah, he missed it.
That was still pretty good. Well done, sir.
Didn't stick the landing. But that's the JLP dismount we like to do when we come out of the JLP. As you notice, it's kind of fun to move around up on station. So that's the Japanese portion. Again, it's a great lab. We really like it. It's one of the cleanest places on station to work, and it's always fun to work there. Try to get there. At least we'll get part of it.
Oh, and explain what the green dots are.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, this is our. It's called a PCS. It's basically information on how the station systems are doing. But most important thing for us are the comm, what is available comm-wise. And this is what we have down. So when we look anywhere around this area, we can look over here and see if we have comm or not. And we have 4 different channels. Space ground 1, 2, 3, and 4. As you can see, it's upside down, but that's just the way it happens to be here for us. But these are the prime 2 we use, and it's the most available. And then these are, if we have KU, we have these 2, and we can use those 2. And so it's comm's very important for us. We need to talk to the ground quite a bit. They help us out tremendously. They're the ones with all the real knowledge. Again, so we're just a glorified technician, which I'm qualified for that, just being a tech. And it's good for me. But it is still fun to be up here, no doubt about it. This is the accidental trip we can do. So now we're in node 1 again. where we have our dinner, etc., our place to eat. But we're going to move farther aft, and when we go farther aft, we're going to head into the Russian segment. And you'll see a change. You'll notice, of course, how I guess the size of this and the sides and the way this U.S. side is built. It's quite a bit difference when you go into the Russian segment.
I'm going to try to do this backwards.
Yes. Now I was trying to go backwards, which is going to be a little difficult for him. We'll see how this turns out. First, you notice we're going to another PMA, which gets quite a bit smaller. We use this for stowage of our main items that we need on a daily basis, kind of like towels, etc., that we get. That's all stowed right in this area. We can grab them when we need them. This is the first kind of, I would call a node area for the Russian segment. It's the FGB GA. And so what it is, we can continue that way, which goes back into the FGB and into the service module, or we can go nadir and down into the mini research module number 1. And this is also a little interesting aspect of it. Again, it gets really narrowed down in here for a module. So this is, they call it meme in Russian, that's the Russian acronym meme. But the idea here is there has some science in there. It's more of a storage area for them. They keep a lot of their stuff here. And if we continue on, that's the Soyuz that Tano and the rest of his crew came up on. And so that's where we saw out the cupola. That's where you go to get to that one right there, through that area right there. So that's where this is docked to on the meme 1. And so this is one of the newer modules for the Russians. It came up, I know STS-132 put this on, so it's not that old. And you can see it's actually pretty still clean on the sides. As you look at some of the older Russian modules, you'll see that basically this is the pile Velcro right here on the sides. And it's great for sticking things to. However, though, it does get dirty and it's hard to clean. And you can probably see that later. Always advantages and disadvantages to everything. So now we'll head into the main part of the FGB.
If I can find it.
As you can see, these are the hatches that they use on the Russian side. And it's set up in a way, basically, because there's usually, when a Russian module comes, it's got a docking probe on it. It goes into these things and it latches onto. And so that's what you have to have a room for the docking probe to go into these things. So they're going to have this set up on it. This is also for airflow through the Russian modules. You can see we have the ducts going through right here. And actually this one goes all the way over from the service module all the way into node 3. It's a long running hose that goes all the way across to keep the airflow all the way throughout station 5. Now you can see in the FGB, this is actually where the Russians have their hygiene station, where they clean themselves up. They got their mirror, they got all their stuff right here, so this is where they do it. And we move back again. This is mostly, the FGB is all about storage. It has a bunch of US and Russian storage in here. So behind all these panels there is some equipment, but mostly storage. The containers here are all food. This is how the Russian food comes up in these containers. And this is their spare food that their food they're going to use later on. Okay, now we're going from the FGB into part of the service module, which is like the main living quarters for the Russian side. And this is their kind of, I call it, node area. PO is the name of it in Russian. And it has two different ways to go. If you go nadir, you go into the docking compartment and into a progress down that way. And you can see their Russian spacesuits. So this is what they did to the spacesuit about a week ago. And this is what they did it out of the docking compartment. It's actually their airlock. And if you go zenith, we go into the mini research module number 2, and that's where the progress that I came on is docked to. and this is where I have to stay when the Russians do a spacewalk. So I can't be separated from my Soyuz through closed hatches. And so to make sure they want to close that hatch, they're doing their spacewalks. So I have to be in here, so I'll always have an access to my Soyuz back this way. We'll go a little farther, we can at least go a little bit into the Soyuz. As you can tell, it gets narrower and narrower. The Soyuz is actually a pretty small vehicle. This is the roomy part of a Soyuz. It is right here. And it's called the BO, which is basically a living compartment. And so this is where you can actually, there's a little bathroom there, container. You have a little bit of room here, but this is our spacesuits, and this is all the room we really have for a living module. And on the way up here, we unfortunately had to do the 2-day version to get to station versus the 6-hour version. And so we stayed basically in this size, 3 of us, for 2 days. And that was a little cozy. But we made it. That's the best part. It's done. Overall, though, you can see there's not much in this area. These are our launch and entry suits. We use are pressurized suits. And we can see real quickly. I bet you we can jump into, I can turn a light on and jump into that Soyuz real quick. Actually, I don't have my flashlight. I don't have my flashlight with me to find the switch.
But I think we do.
Привет, земляне! Вас приветствует экипаж 28-й экспедиции на МКС в составе командира экипажа Андрея Борисенко
и борт-инженера Александра Самокутяева. И хочется вам сказать, что вы молодцы, что вы пришли в планетарий. Значит, у вас все-таки еще есть интерес к космосу и все, что с ним связано. Мы вас приглашаем.
У нас на Международной космической станции тоже есть свой планетарий. Вот он.
Это место на МКС называется Купола. И здесь звезды светят ярче, и они здесь ближе. И можно наслаждаться этим чудесным видом часами.
Но это не единственное интересное место на нашей Международной космической станции. И сейчас мы проведем небольшую экскурсию по нашему космическому дому.